So, welcome to today's video, and the theme that I'm going to be discussing, or the ideas, are related to favorites. So, there was a famous person, one of those old famous boys who said, "Know thyself." And related to this is knowing what your favorites are, what you like the best. So I have a number of ideas I want to go through, and they are related in many different ways, and I haven't really found a good path to get through them, so you have to bear with me a little bit. It's going to be like a map over a trigonometric survey. There's going to be a lot of tangents, if you know what I mean. So before we get into it, I want you to write down your favorite movie, album, book. And the reason you write it down is, this is a trick, it's because then when you reconsider it later, then you can't back out of what you wrote down. But if you just say it to yourself in your head, it's very easy to get tricked by your mind. Anyway, so now that you have written down your favorites of these three categories, I want to talk about one of my favorite bands. It's called Wolfpack. And the lead guy, the band leader known as Jack Stratton, he has a video on the Holy Trinities. And like in the mythology, he says that there's one person who knows the best three of everything. And he has one movie, or one of these segments on guitars, which is really cool. And it goes something like this.
These are my three favorite guitarists, and I measure that by how much they want to make me pick up the guitar.
So it goes like this. It's going to pick out his three favorite guitars, and the way he uses to judge these things is by which guitar he most likely will pick up if he sees it. And I feel there's some like transcendental wisdom in that. Like, when you actually commit to doing something, you actually see like a better representation of your true self than if you just get asked like abstractly, what is your favorite album, movie, or book? So let's go over this again. So now it's a new question. Which movie, if you had to re-watch a movie right now, which movie do you want to watch again right now? If you should reread a book you already read one more time, which book would you read again? If you had to listen to a music album right now, what album would you listen to? And maybe, at least for me when I did this, I realized that the ones I wrote down that were the favorites, they didn't match with the ones I wanted to read again right now or listen to again. And then I thought, like, if this book was really my favorite book, why don't I want to reread it right now? Why do I want to read another book more? So it's like, of course, if you just read it, that's one thing that can skew the like data a little bit. But I thought about it more deeply. So let's say I get asked, what's my favorite book? And then of course, you can bring out like, my favorite books are the Lord of the Rings, or if you have an art degree, maybe it's The Great Gatsby. Anyway, but like, if this was your favorite book, why isn't this the book you want to reread again right now? Because for me, when I thought about this, the book I really wanted to read the most right now is Moneyball. And the way I realized this is that in the back of all my books, I write out the dates. When I finish the book, I write the date and the month that I finished the book. And I saw that this book was the book I reread the most times. So I reread it like once every year at least. And it's not because like I'm forcing myself to reread it. It's just like, it's a really good book. It's like filled with my favorite theme of all time, which is like redemption. And it's just like, the storyline is so cool, and the fact that it's a real story as well makes it so good. And it's beautifully written. And it's like, I didn't realize that if I just went by like, which book do I want to read again? I kept rereading this book many, many times before I realized like, this is actually one of my favorite books. While I feel that many people, when you ask them what is their favorite movie or the favorite book, like they don't hear the question. They don't hear the question, what is your favorite movie or book? What they hear is another question. Like if I go to a party and ask someone, what's your favorite book? They answer the question, who do I want this person to think I am? So you ask, what's your favorite movie or your favorite book? And like in their mind they hear, what do I want this person to think I am? What movie title or book should I say that like makes them think I'm such a cool and awesome person as I want to be, and I want them to think I am? So maybe like if I say The Great Gatsby, they will think I'm smart, I'm a literary person who really like knows all the depth and all the great classics, right? Or like if I ask, what's your favorite movie? And like how can you take a 20-year-old serious if you ask them what's your favorite movie, and they say, without a hint of irony in their voice, Citizen Kane. It's like, really boy? Is that your favorite movie? Like if you had 100 years, is that the movie you would watch the most times? Like it's one of the great classics, don't get me wrong, but the point is like, when you answer Citizen Kane, you want me to think that you are some sort of movie genius. Like you want to represent that you're so smart and that you watch all these classic movies, but I think you're just being dishonest to yourself. So the way you answer that question when that person says it's Citizen Kane, you just point them to the toilet and you say, you should go over there and take a big poop, because right now you're full of shit. And I think like if people answered this question more honestly, then like you would get to know yourself better, and you will get to know other people better as well. And it's like, if like related to this, like the concept of guilty pleasure. Like, can't you just have like honest pleasure? Like if you really like Citizen Kane the best, that's fair with me. But I'm pretty sure there's another movie that you got more enjoyment out of, that you have watched more time, more times, and I would say it's more believable if you say, for instance, my favorite movie is Fight Club or Pulp Fiction. I am more likely to believe that than if you say it's Citizen Kane. So when you get asked like what's your favorite X, like your identity or who you want to be gets tangled up in the question. You want to like, if I say that my favorite book is The Old Man and the Sea, they will think I'm such a educated person, and that like it pollutes your thinking and it pollutes your answer. While if you just ask what book do you want to read again right now, that question is going to be more honest and it's going to be more true to yourself. And if the book you want to read the most right now, again and again, is one book, how can you say that that is not your favorite book? And related to like movies and things, like there's a lot of old movies that are good, but like if I just want to think about what movie have I rewatched the most times, it's either like The Big Lebowski, it's Scott Pilgrim versus the World, or it's like The Social Network. Because like there's something about those movies, like the storyline, the pacing, the editing, the music, that just like makes it a very, very enjoyable movie experience for me. While for instance, some of the great classics, like they didn't really hit me. Like the last movie I watched where I got the experience from was 8½, which is like this Italian movie from like the 50s or 60s about some director. And you'll find this on like a lot of directors' own favorite movie lists. This movie will pop up. I watched half of it. I didn't really get it. It didn't hit me at all. And it's like, sure, I could say somebody asked me and say that this movie was my favorite, but I think the world would be a more honest place if you would allow yourself to say that you didn't really get the movie. And then I think the concept of like guilty pleasure would also disappear, because like if Spice Girls is really the music that makes you happy in your heart, why shouldn't you be allowed to be proud of that? So now I'm going to talk a bit about music albums, because that's like the same, it's part of the same thing. So for me, what used to be one of my guilty pleasures was ABBA, because I'm from Sweden, and it's just like so funky, and it's so good, this music, and it's like, why am I not allowed to seriously say that it's one of my favorite albums? It's like, I think that's bullshit. Because when people say, answer the question, what's your favorite album? They'll say maybe Led Zeppelin 4, or they'll say, what do we got down here? The Dark Side of the Moon. And all of these are like great albums, and I've listened to them tons of times. If you asked me again, like what's the album you most want to listen to right now, I would answer differently, and the answers would be more telling of who I am as a person. Like I would maybe want to listen to Awake by Tycho, which is just like, it just gets me in the greatest of moods. Or maybe I would listen to This Is It by The Strokes. Or I would listen to An Awesome Wave by Alt J. And the point is here that you're allowed to say whatever the fuck you want and have whatever favorite movie you want. But if you frame the question differently, you show a different side of yourself, which I think is more interesting. Because when your thinking mind is gonna conjure up its favorite movies, it's your identity and like your ego gets tangled up in it, and it makes you answer in a dishonest way. While like, of course, Rumors is a great album, but I much rather listen to In the Mountain in the Cloud. And I think like if everybody answers that their favorite movie is The Dark Side of the Moon, there's gonna be like, it's gonna be a boring world where you don't get to see the different aspects that humanity have to bring. And favorites can change over time. Like there was a period in 2016 where I listened to this album like 7 times a day. This is, by the way, Godspeed You Black Emperor's album, Lift Your Skinny Fist Like Antennas to Heaven, which is like a fucking dark album, man. It's bleak as fuck. And the point is that like sometimes you have a favorite album, but if you when you're thinking about it, usually what's your favorite is like a static answer. It's the same the entire time. But if you think about it, like what album do you want to listen to right now? You get a different answer, and then when you change as a person, your favorite album will change as well. So I can safely say this is not my favorite album, but it's a great album and I have tons of memories with it. But like I wouldn't say it's my favorite album any longer. And that's okay, because like you never climb through the same river twice, because you're not the same river and the river is not the same man, or whatever it is. So let's round out what I really think this is about. So like I started with the quote, "Know thyself," and I think if you realize that there's more to what you enjoy than what like you think about something, you realize that maybe there's some things that you enjoy more than you actually like allow yourself to think that you enjoy. And that like you would think that knowing oneself is one of the things most people would do, because like it's the only thing that is there the entire time. But I find most people really don't know themselves, and they don't have any insight in their own thought process and how they judge things. And some people like to think that their thinking mind is like it's all there is. It's like, but it isn't. Like there's so much more to you than just what you think, and the way you act is not based solely on the logical thoughts about it. And that's pretty cool, I think, because the world would be a really boring place if everybody was just thinking logically and acting logically the entire time. There's so much like fun shit that happens because because the world is weird, you know, and people do strange things. And for instance, if you think about advertisements, like studies upon studies show that even if you think that ads aren't working on you, they do work. And I think this is related to this concept that like your thinking mind, the one who says that Citizen Kane is your favorite movie, says to you, ads don't work on me, it doesn't work. But still, like the water you drink, the reality you're exposed to, actually like the ads seep in. And like, since we already know that your thinking mind isn't your entire reality, we can see how it would be that like our world, like our opinions and what we do gets affected by what we can't really comprehend with our own thinking process, because there's something else, like the half of the brain that doesn't speak. It just like feels and acts. If you think back to my other video on the split brain. So I think I'm reaching the end of all the thoughts I had about this. One last thing is about like expensive things and nice things. So for instance, I have these sunglasses that I think are really cool. That I bought for like 1,000 Norwegian crowns, which is like $100, around that. And it's like, I really like them, and I think they look good. But then because they cost so much, you don't want to use them and like scratch them. You won't allow them to be, you don't use them as much as you want to, because you're afraid that they will get damaged, and then they won't be as nice. And like this idea that your favorite ones and the ones you use the most are not the same thing. And maybe like in some way that you should try, even if you have something nice that you're kind of afraid to use, like don't be. We're only here for a short while in the universe, in the cosmos. Why not use the things that you really like the most? And then if they get scratched or they get damaged, yeah, then that's life. But at least you didn't go like your entire life using the things you like the least, just because then you would save the things you like the most. When you didn't use them, it's like the quotes with the boats in the port. A sunglass in the port is safe, but that's not what sunglasses are for. Yeah, I think that's all my thoughts, and yeah, I maybe talked down on some classic works in this video, but that was purely to illustrate a point. And maybe when I rewatch 8.5 in 20 years, I would realize the transcendental wisdom hidden within it. But this time, when I'm only 28, it didn't do that. So that's all. Have a nice day.